Hi, everybody.
Welcome to Historia.
Yeah.
God.
Scratch that. I'm just
Oh my
kidding.
God.
Let's stick with it. How are you all doing?
They can't answer.
I know, I'm just letting them answer.
I'm Jamie.
It's great. I'm Kylie. Welcome to our podcast of chaos and history.
Today is part 2.
Part 2 of McDonald's. Meow, 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 meow. Things are just getting interesting, guys.
Now that you're talking about this, I just have a funny memory of James and I had just got done fishing, and we decided to go to McDonald's because that was like only one of the few restaurants that were still open.
Yeah.
Like at night. And James loved their buttermilk chicken tenders.
Uh-huh.
But because of COVID, they took them away.
Oh, yeah.
He was absolutely devastated. He's like, I will never eat at McDonald's again because they got rid of the chicken tenders.
That's funny.
I'm just...
Yeah.
There's just some weird memories of McDonald's.
There is. A lot of mine are in college.
I mean, it's like the place that was open like 24/7. So
Yeah.
where else are you going to go?
Yeah, none of, like, being in a small college town, we literally had no other choice.
Yeah.
So we all were at McDonald's. So many memories.
There was one night, it was like almost 1 a.m, and James and I decided to go to McDonald's for some reason to get their chicken McNuggets. And this is when he lived at like his old apartment, like by himself with his roommate. And we just watched Criminal Minds after getting like a big box of just like the chicken nuggets.
Nice. Can't go wrong. So anyway, we're talking about McDonald's. We're going to jump back in. If you did not listen to part 1, definitely go do that now because you're going to wonder who this Kroc guy is. So.
Betty Kroc?
Ray Kroc. Woo! All right. So we last left off with Ray basically visiting McDonald's because he was very curious about why they decided to order 8 multi-mixers. Because he owned the multi-mixer. So he was like, who needs 8 of them? And for what?
Wow.
So he decided to visit this restaurant. And he was very impressed by what was going on. He liked how it was family-oriented. He liked how the workers were very nice. And then he talked to the McDonald brothers. And they were both very excited to meet him because they love the multi-mixer. Big fans. And so they decided to allow Ray inside of their kitchen and taught him basically their system. Kind of what they do to run business. That night, the brothers showed Ray the new architect ideas as well. Ray Kroc noticed flaws, but he was amazed because he was like, wow, this is a good idea, but like, I don't know about this. But he liked the arch idea. He thought that was fun. Kroc imagined having McDonald's restaurants everywhere with 8 multi-mixers in each one to make him rich.
Wow.
And that's really what he was focused on.
Yeah.
From the second he saw McDonald's, he was like, this is going to be big one day. And I'm going to own it all. So, that's what he does. Spoiler alert. Yeah. So he also had a ton of health problems and new multi-mixers were dying. And so he was like, I need to do something now. I need to figure something out so I can kind of like settle down a little bit and not have to work as hard selling things. He saw huge potential in McDonald's and he wanted to be a part of it. And he came there again and observed how they made the burgers and fries. Ray told the brothers about how they needed to get McDonald's everywhere. He was like, guys, you don't understand. Like this place, it's already so packed at this location. And in the Phoenix one and like the other California one. And you need to just expand outwards instead of like keeping it all in California. So Mac was like, I don't know. I think we like how it's going. I think we like kind of the smaller business idea. And they didn't want to add more stress onto their plate because they also had health issues. And they're like, we don't want to be more stressed out than we are.
Well, they're already like 50 something.
Yeah. Yeah. They're around there in their 50s. So Ray told them that he'd be willing to help them and he would open the stores for them. He's like, I got this. I'll help you out. He's a sneaky little guy. He's a crocodile. Get it? His last name? Croc.
But don't.
Thanks. Jamie didn't even have the energy to laugh at my joke. All right. So they ended up signing a contract that day. So basically what would happen is 1.9% of sales would go to Kroc, and then half of those sales would go to the McDonald's brothers. So they're getting like basically half a percentage of sales, whereas Kroc's getting 1.4%. Yeah. So it's kind of like, that's not a lot.
No.
You're letting Ray take a lot there.
Yeah.
So Ray was so focused on McDonald's, his wife was upset. She's still not happy.
Of course.
And in 1955, he sold the McDonald's methods. He was starting to tell people about what they were doing in the kitchen so that he'd get money for it. Because a lot of people were interested in it.
Oh.
Yeah. At that point, I would have been like, we're done.
Literally.
Right? But they were like, no, it's fine. They were very nice. Yeah.
Someone should have told them, bruh, you're being swindled.
Right. In 1955, they built a McDonald's in Chicago. And of course, that's his favorite place, Chicago. So he was there. And he did it with his friend named Art Jacobs. And the first year was filled with kinks. They had a lot of temperature problems, ventilation problems. Fries did not taste as good as they did at the original. He could not get it down.
Well, you have to take into consideration elevation.
Yeah.
Just the precipitation.
Right. Everything's different. Like, you can't just go to a new location. I remember, like, for the restaurant that I work at, the bread that we make, they had to get used to our elevation. So they had to, like, figure out the right temperature to use.
Yeah.
You know, it's like those things you have to think about.
I mean, even when you're just making, like, baking and stuff like that, like, when I make my cookies, I add a whole nother cup of flour to counteract, like, the elevation that we're at.
Yeah. Yeah, it's those things you just got to think about. After 3 months, he kind of created his own systems and just kind of found what works best there. So he was able to experiment and see what works best at that location. The McDonald brothers had sold their name to 10 other locations in California and Arizona, again, keeping it pretty local. And the restaurants in these areas were off limits, but Ray would get the rest, basically. So they were like, Ray, you can go wherever you want, but we get all California and Arizona. That's our spot. And so Ray's like, fine. They also had a contract where Ray was not able to make any changes within the restaurant. Notice I say in the restaurant. That's the only thing that was mentioned. So he's not allowed to like change anything that they sell, anything like that. They don't mention around the restaurant. They don't mention under the restaurant land. That's how he like basically messes with them.
All the loopholes.
Yeah, so he finds his loopholes.
That sucks.
Yep.
What a dick.
I know. That hasn't happened yet, but that's what he eventually does. So he finds that if you lease land, then you own it.
I hate this guy.
I know.
I don't care if you're trying to be a businessman. I just, honestly, I'm extremely biased when it comes to journalists and business people. I don't care much for them.
No, that's fair.
But that's my bias.
They have a mindset that's very, I don't know. It doesn't feel, like it feels selfish to me.
Yeah.
But I also understand, like, some people just have a gift in that, and we need people to have that gift.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have, like, Disney. You know, we wouldn't have big companies that we like.
It's true.
So we need businessmen. It's just like...
I will forever have a bias for it.
Yeah, I get that completely. Yeah. Oh, one thing that really pissed Ray off was they ended up selling his Chicago location to an ice cream company. So Ray had to buy it out for $25,000. And this pissed him off. And he was like, are you kidding me? Like, he was so mad at the brothers. And he was like, screw this. Like, I'm done respecting you guys. They were just trying to make a profit.
Yeah.
They didn't think it'd be that big of a deal because he had other locations he's working on. But he was pissed. So this is what caused a lot of tension between Ray and the brothers. And Ray got to a point where he's like, I need help. There's too much to do. I don't know how to do this all. So Harry Sonneborn reached out to Ray to help him with McDonald's. And if you watch the movie Founder, this is played by the one and only BJ Novak.
Oh my God. He's so good at being such an asshole.
I know. And
I love it.
he looks just like the actual guy. Like,
Really?
They did a really good job. Yeah. But it's funny watching him be all serious. Harry. Harry's actually the one who gave him the idea of leasing the land. And because he was like, you own what's in it, or they own what's in it, but not around it. Yeah. So he's the one that kind of helped him with that idea. So they were just like not a good team, but like also a good team. All right. So they discussed franchising, and Harry said he would work for $100 a week. So Ray ended up hiring him. And because McDonald's was family friendly, Ray made sure none of the franchises would have payphones, jukeboxes, or vending machines. This would allow for people to not feel like they had to stick around for a long time. They didn't want teenagers to be around a lot. Teenagers were like the devils back then. So they were trying to get rid of them.
I don't blame them.
I know. So they're like, nothing that will cause them to stick around.
Have you ever watched The Outsiders?
Of course.
They're troublemaker teenagers.
They are. Teenagers scare the living. That song?
Yeah.
That's a good one. Okay. In 1955, Kroc opened 2 more locations, and he kept the McDonald's brothers format and then added the motto, if you have time to lean, you have time to clean, for his workers to make sure that it stayed clean. Isn't that so stupid?
That won't help. I am distraught by that.
He's like, if I'm Dr. Seuss, they won't be able to argue with me. And we're almost at the point where my notes just turned into my phone notes. So we'll see how this goes. In 1956, there were 8 more McDonald's restaurants that were opened. And these were all under Ray. And he wanted to make sure that every location was the same, but it was expensive to franchise. So he's like, I really want to be able to make sure that we're taking good care of each business. Each location looks like the others, so that we're creating this big brand. But like, I can't keep making these buildings. Like, I have to make sure that we're kind of taking it slower. So he was putting a lot of money into franchising. And Ray, Harry, and his secretary June worked hard on kind of coming up with an idea of how to keep it all under control. Then good old Fred Turner enters the picture. And Fred Turner started working for Ray at a franchise store, and he managed a store in Chicago. Fred then worked as operations on all stores for $475 per month. And Ray and Harry weren't getting along well. Harry was the brains. He was the one who was like, you got to do this, and just had all these ideas. Ray was more of like the dreamer, the one who socialized with customers, different things like that, made deals with people. And then June, the secretary, was kind of the glue that held them together. So she was constantly like, guys, come on, we can do this. Like helping them with that, basically. Yeah. So they were like the 3 big leagues, basically, of the company. Fred figured out the right hamburger proportions. So he figured out that you would use 1/10 of a pound, which would be 19% fat burger, and it would be all beef with no fillers. Not really anymore, but okay. And this would make them unique because every other place was using like soybean filler. And so they were like, well, this is all beef, son. So, yeah. By 1958, there were 34 McDonald's restaurants. So it's growing pretty quick. And then in 1959, it was the first Hawaii location that opened. This was a big year because that happened. And then Harry became the first president and CEO of the company. And they had a problem with a franchisee building stores on land that he didn't have the title to. Which caused Ray to to have to give a lot of money. There was really no information. I was curious about what happened to the guy.
Yeah.
It's like, did he get arrested? But there's like no information about him.
They probably swept it under the rug.
Yeah. So Ray, at this time, his net worth is $90,000. And he had to borrow $400,000 just for that man's mess. That really sets him back.
This guy can't keep money.
I know. He's just like drowning in debt.
It's just like, dude, just stay with what you have and build up from there.
Right.
But he's just trying to push too much too soon.
I know. Yeah. Because he wasn't really ever like rich. Like his net worth was a lot, but it's not like he was like
actually
rolling
rich.
In the dough. Yeah. I mean, it took many, many more years to get to that point, but so 3 insurance companies lended him $1.5 million for exchange of 22.5% of McDonald's stock. So that helped him pay it off. And this also helped all the stores grow quickly because he could kind of put more money into them. Mm-hmm. And McDonald's brothers also got a lot of money from this too. Now, in 1960, this was the first company store. So this would be like the first one that would kind of change the brand. Mm-hmm. And this would be in Columbus, Ohio. Ray was wanting to make changes, but he had to get everything approved through the McDonald's brothers. And so he was like, this is getting really annoying. Fred, come here, bud. And Fred's like, yes, because he's the one who oversees everything. And he's like, Fred, I need you to go spy on how their location's doing, because they're really just in charge of like the San Bernardino location. Mm-hmm. So he's like, go check that out and kind of see how it's going. You can check out some of the other locations too. But I'm just curious because I want to be able to kind of maybe use something to push them to give it to me, basically. Yeah.
It's like 2 stores.
I know. Yeah. So Fred was on his way to go spy on what was going on, and he discovered that the San Bernardino was the only real one, the only one that was selling the McDonald's food, while the other locations were selling food like pizza and burritos. Like they still had the McDonald's menu. Yeah. But they like threw in random food. And he's like, Ray? I don't think this is what's supposed to be happening. And Ray was pissed. Because Ray was very much like, we need it all to be one brand. Yeah. Everything needs to be the same. Because otherwise it's like, it ruins the quality. Yeah. Like, people aren't going to trust you that you have a good burger if you're also advertising pizza.
That's so weird.
Yeah. So it made the quality of the food go down. Mm-hmm. And so Ray was pissed. He went to the McDonald brothers and they were just kind of like, okay. Like they didn't care. They were just like, and?
We're not in charge of that.
Right. Like they just didn't care. They were like, if they're making money doing that, that's fine. Why does it matter? And Ray's like, we need everything to be the same. And he's just like freaking out. And they're just like, okay.
Dude, you're going to have an aneurysm.
I know. Yeah. May not be surprising that he died of heart issues.
Literally.
So no, I already talked about that. Ray at this point was like, after that, he was like, okay, I need to get in control of this because they're just not, they don't care enough. I think it was because the brothers just weren't like businessmen. They were more so just like,
just doing whatever.
Yeah, they were just enjoying it.
Yeah.
Having their own little location and then having a few others. It didn't take a lot of time. They were able to make good money.
They were living life.
Yeah. And then Ray's over here like, I need every location ever, even though I'm in debt. Like, literally. So, well, I guess now he has a little bit of money from the insurance companies, but not too much. So, in 1960, the 200th location opened. Yeah. And then in 1960 was also the first Alaskan McDonald's. I thought that was a fun fact.
Interesting.
In 1961, Ray had dinner with a franchisee and met a married woman who he fell in love with right away, named Joan Smith. Yes, he's still married to Ethel.
Poor Ethel.
I know. She's just been waiting at home for him to come home and just like, are you ever going to just like give up? And she's just been so patient with him.
I would have left his ass.
I know.
I get it that like at the time divorce was like a big taboo.
Yeah.
But still at that point.
Yeah.
At least I'm hoping that she would have just had an affair.
I know. I hope she did. I don't know much about her, but I hope she like I hope she did. Sounds bad, but like she deserves better. Literally. Hopefully she got remarried and was happy. But yeah, so Joan Smith enters the picture. And you see this, and it's a really awkward scene because he's just like staring at this guy's wife. And he's just like infatuated by her, and he's like, that's my wife. And he's like, oh. Like, it's just really weird. And then they like sing together and play piano together, and it's like, yikes. So her husband was a new manager for one of the McDonald's restaurants in Minneapolis.
Well, that's awkward.
Yeah. And so what Ray would do is he'd be like, I have to go visit Minneapolis, check on that location. But while he was there, he was just, I don't know if he hooked up with Joan, but he was definitely like hanging out with her, playing piano, singing songs. And then at night, he would be in his house making phone calls to her. They would talk to like all night long, basically.
That poor phone bill.
Right?
Oh my God.
So they talked on the phone a lot. And one time he was like, you know what? It's time. Let's both leave our marriages and get married. Aww. It's time. And Ray was like, I'm ready. So it was like a couple days later, he divorced Ethel, in which he gave her the house, the car, insurance, and $30,000 for the rest of her life. But he refused to give her a single share of McDonald's.
Rude.
I know. Such a bitch. So, yeah, they're divorced now. She was probably like happy, honestly.
Literally.
And now she gets paid. Mm-hmm. So, and then Ray ended up selling Prince Castle sales for $150,000 to help pay for the divorce settlement. So she must have fought it a little bit, but she was probably like at the point where she's like, you know what? He's going to make money. I got to stay with him. So Joan ended up, they were talking on the phone. He's like, okay, I divorced my wife. Are you going to divorce your husband? Like, what, are we going to get married? And Joan was like, I'm still thinking. Yeah. Yeah. So she said she needed more time.
More time.
Yeah. And then kind of like going to the other side of things, Mac McDonald's health was declining and Dick was ready to retire. This was the perfect time for Ray to start kind of taking over because he knew about these things. They were friends. They hung out. They golfed together.
Wow.
So Ray was like, I'm going to use that to my advantage. It's time to take over. So Ray asked them how much it would cost to buy them out. So they told him that they would do it for $2.7 million. This way, both brothers would get $1 million after taxes.
Damn.
Yeah, so they did the math at least. And this had to be cash only. That way he couldn't like try anything on them. And Ray was like, okay, but here's the thing. I don't have that much money.
Oh my God.
And they were like, too bad. We need cash. And then you can have it. It's all yours. And so he's like, crap. So he tried to do like financing on them and everything. And they're like, no, we need cash. So they cut their like word for that. They'd never really let Ray walk all over them. Ray just kind of knew ways around the system.
Yeah.
So, okay. So then insurance companies that helped him out before, he came back to them and he's like, any more money? And they're like, no, we already gave you so much. So he's like, dang it. So then he met with a financial advisor named John Bristol, who was in charge of a lot of institutions and colleges, and he helped them get the money. Basically, Ray got the $2.7 million after getting it from 12 different institutions like Princeton University and Ford. Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah, so he's getting money from all these institutions. Or you could have just like, I don't know, don't make all these decisions with your business and you would have had money.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's just crazy. But now he had the money. He gave him the cash and he is now the sole owner of McDonald's. Eesh. After they made the deal and he gave them the cash, he decided that he really wanted the San Bernardino's location as well. He's like, I know that's the only location that you guys oversee, but that's going to be mine. And they're like, no. So originally they made a deal where they would own that location forever, basically, and that it wouldn't be a part of it. But the deal was made over a handshake.
That doesn't do anything.
Yeah. So he's like, well, no proof. Don't make a deal over a handshake.
No, you got to get written proof.
Yeah.
And copied.
Right.
And notarized.
Right. So Ray was like, I want this location so bad. And the reason why he wanted this one was because it was a first one. So many people like to visit it. But also it was a very popular area. And they were making a lot of money there. The sales stayed consistent through the years. So he's like, I need it. It will help me. He was mad that he didn't have it because he owns the brand. He's like, why can't you give me this if I own the company? So he made it very clear to the brothers that now he owned the name McDonald's legally. That was now his name. So he said, if you would like to keep your restaurant, you need to change the name. Shit. Yeah. So they ended up renaming it to the Big M. The overall image of the restaurant stayed the same throughout all of the different locations of McDonald's, but Ray also tried to bring in some new things too, because now he had the power to do so. So he could kind of change whatever he wanted. So the first thing, he was like, let's get rid of this stupid mascot. He got rid of Speedy, the mascot. And it turned into, the new logo he picked was so freaking ugly. It's basically like two golden arches with a diagonal line across it. It looks so stupid. Yeah. And so that was the new logo. They don't even have a mascot right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So Ray also made it to where a franchisee could only own one location at a time. This way he would make more money from it and have more power over that land. Yeah.
Damn.
So he sold everything for a decent price and made sure every location was making a good profit as well. He kind of had a better control over everything now. Mm-hmm. Okay, Joan enters the picture again.
Oh, God.
So Joan called Ray, and she's like, okay, I made my decision. He's like, about time. And she's like, I will not be leaving my husband. Yeah. And Ray's just like, okay. So Ray ends up moving from Chicago to California.
Oh, God.
You know how he does things. He runs away and then he always comes back to Chicago.
Literally.
This is no different. So, well, he stays in California for a bit, but he goes back to he moves to California. And he has this big house full of all kinds of stuff, but he's very lonely. Nobody to share with.
Well, his daughter probably doesn't want to talk to him.
I know.
Either.
Yeah. And then one day, as he's in California, he noticed, he got like a letter in the mail of Joan and her husband opening their own McDonald's in Rapid City, South Dakota. And he's like, that's probably why she doesn't want to get a divorce. Because now she's working with him. So that's kind of his thought process. And then a location in Cincinnati noticed that they were having less sales on Fridays because they had a big population of Catholics. So, yeah, they were losing a lot of their competition to a place that sold fish on Fridays. And that's because Catholics can eat meat on Fridays. So, you know where this is going. Mm-hmm. Lou Green mentioned that they should also serve a fish sandwich at McDonald's. Ray didn't like the idea. He's like, that's gross. Who wants fast food fish? So he's like, I don't know about that. But then once they kind of figured out the right kind of fish to use, and then he tried it with cheese, he was like, oh, okay, that's good. So then Ray named the sandwich Filet-O-Fish. And it did pretty well. But before that came out, he was like, okay, so we have one meatless, or this is like a fish sandwich, but we need one that's like meatless completely. And so he came up with the idea of the hula burger. This does not sound good to me at all. This actually, like, the thought of this makes me want to gag. So basically what it is it's a piece of grilled pineapple with a piece of cheese on top and on bottom.
Ew.
In the bun. Doesn't that sound disgusting? Oh,
it's
gross.
Weird.
So they both were released the same year during like Easter time and all that fun stuff. And the Filet-O-Fish did really well in 1962 on Good Friday, but not many people were fans of the hula burger, so they got rid of it. Are we surprised?
Yeah, no.
That's so gross.
Ew. Pineapple.
I know. Ugh. Okay. So then in 1962, Ray built a McDonald's a block away from the Brothers Restaurant, the Big M. He was like, you want to play this game? I'll play this game. So he ended up building a McDonald's right next to it.
Wow.
Yeah. That's a big slap in the face.
That's savage.
Yeah. And then in 1963, Ray met a woman named Jane Green, and they got married after knowing each other for 2 weeks. She was the actor John Wayne's secretary. Huh. And he was like, I like her. She was known to be like really, really nice. Everybody loved her. She was just really sweet. Yeah. And so he fell for her. And they got married very fast. Now, she's very private. There's like no pictures of her online. There's no information.
Damn.
Yeah. So she stayed very private, but they're not married for very long. So, spoiler alert again. And then in 1963, we have a new clown mascot, Ronald McDonald, entering the picture.
Honestly, I forgot that is the mascot of McDonald's.
Yep.
I don't know why I completely forgot about him. I was just thinking of the Hamburglar for some reason.
And not Ronald.
No, I don't.
That's so funny.
I was like, what is the mascot for McDonald's? The first thing was Hamburger.
Not Ronald. How can you forget Ronald's face?
I don't know.
Do you remember when they always had like statues of him in the locations?
Oh, yeah.
That is so
Do
weird.
they not have them anymore?
Very rare. Very rare.
Oh.
I think they're kind of leaning away from Ronald.
That's sad.
But I know you've all been waiting for Ronald to enter the picture, and he is here. Okay. Now, before he had that look that we see today, there was another look.
Terrifying.
He was very interesting looking. He had like scraggly hair, and then he had a hat that was basically a tray of McDonald's food. So that when he bumped into kids, it would fall out and they'd get food.
What the hell?
Yeah. I'm also going to post a picture of that on the Instagram because that costume was very interesting. So basically what they did with this guy is they made 3 commercials with him. They were like, let's just start like getting this idea out and see if kids like it. And so, yeah, the commercials would just be him like running around, being goofy. He would run into a kid and they'd be like, whoa! And then they would catch a hamburger and then start eating it. Yeah, it's very strange. So McDonald's never really outwardly spoke about who created the character, but it was likely inspired by Bozo the Clown. So Willard Scott played Bozo the Clown on TV until 1962. And in 1963, McDonald's contacted him asking if he would be in 3 commercials as a clown. And so it's not the exact look of Bozo. It's a little different. But he ended up, it's the same actor that played Bozo the Clown.
Oh.
Yeah. But then they were like, okay, this look is kind of weird. We need to change it a little bit. So then in 1968, they hired a circus performer named Coco the Clown to be the new Ronald McDonald. And this is the costume that we see today. More of like the happy smile. I think the problem with the first one is you couldn't really see his face. It was just hair in his face. It was kind of weird.
You know, I think I saw a picture of it.
Yeah. The tray hat just really got me. Like, what is going on? So that's how Ronald McDonald was formed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then in 1965, Ray Kroc officially became president of McDonald's. The restaurants were expanding everywhere, especially in suburbs of big cities where a lot of people lived. And in April 1965, they weren't making extra money. They kind of realized that they were just not making a profit. They had to like spend more money than they made, or it was kind of like even. So they were like, we have to do something. So they decided to sell shares of the company for $25 a piece.
Oh.
Yeah. And then in 1965 also was when they switched to frozen French fries. Yeah. I'm like, if their fries are so good now, I wonder what they tasted like before they were frozen. Like when they're
probably
actual...
like a good French fry.
It's true. All right. So by the end of that year, there were 700 restaurants in 44 states. So they're expanding a lot.
Dang.
Ronald McDonald made his first big appearance at the Macy's Day Parade the next year. He's like, hey, guys. And they were all like, whoa, he looks different. So now he's really making a name for himself. And then in 1966, Harry and Ray were having major issues. They did not get along. Harry was having health problems and believed that there was a recession in the coming year that would have the company go under. He's like, you don't understand. This is serious. You got to stop. Like, we could lose everything. And so Ray, on the other hand, was like, no, we're growing this company. I'm going to keep finding new locations. I'm not giving up on this. So Harry's like, okay, I'm putting a suspension on all existing plans. We're not allowed to make any new locations.
Shit.
So, yeah. And Ray's just like, fine. So that's what happened. And it kind of split the whole McDonald's team into 2 directions. There was like Team Ray, Team Harry. Some people were like, yeah, the recession's coming. Other people were like, who cares? It's not. We're going to be fine.
You have 1% that's like, bring the brothers back.
Yeah, they're like, Dick, I miss you. Harry had enough of this. He's like, you know what? Screw this company. So he ended up resigning in 1966, and he sold all his stocks thinking it would be worth nothing. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. To just give it all up. He's put so much into it, and he's just like, nope.
That sucks.
I know. More of the executives left the company, too, because they were on his side. So they're like, bye. And then Fred Turner almost left, and Ray was like, Fred, don't leave. I promise you in like a year, you'll be president. Okay, I need you to stay. And so Fred's like, okay. So that's what he promised. And then Ray was now the president and chairman of the board, and he stopped the suspension of creating new restaurants now that he was chairman. He had that power. So he got back to business. And in January 1967, they had to raise prices, so the hamburger prices went up to 18 cents, which was 3 cents more than they were before. 15 cents. Isn't that crazy?
Now it's like $10.
Right. This is also the year that the Big Mac was created. So it was created by franchisee Jim Delegati from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He came up with this idea of putting 2 beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, pickles, 3 buns, and American cheese and onions together. The big idea was like the double burger and the 3 buns. Not good. Disgusting. And it sold for 45 cents. Oh, it's so expensive. That one is expensive, like, nowadays.
Oh, I have no clue.
I think it was like $8 now, just for that. And it's not much different than the regular hamburger that's like $1, $2. Like, so, but it used to be bigger than it is now. So that's a Big Mac. Okay. It was originally called the Aristocrat, but people could not pronounce that. So they ended up changing the name to the Blue Ribbon Burger. And then there was this 21-year-old advertising secretary named Esther Rose who was like, let's just call it the Big Mac. And they were like, genius.
Wow.
So it's been called that ever since. And by 1968, the Big Mac was at every restaurant in the U.S. They called it a meal disguised as a sandwich. Stupid. And at this point was when Ray was now called the founder of McDonald's, which many are like, how is he the founder? The brothers are the founders. And that's really where the debate is. And that's why the movie's called Founder.
He's the establisher.
Right. I mean, if it wasn't for him, McDonald's really wouldn't be big. But that wasn't their initial goal.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were like really trying to make it this big thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's mixed feelings for sure. I mean, I don't think it's like that big of a deal because the brothers were still able to make some money and they were still able to live their life and have fun with it. But like also it's just kind of fucked up.
He still screwed him over.
Yeah, exactly. The brothers lost a lot of business at the Big M because, again, Ray put up the new McDonald's a block away, so they were losing all kinds of business. So they decided, screw this, I'm done. And they closed it down, and they got out of the food industry forever. They both ended up getting married. Mac, this was his first marriage, whereas Dick was marrying for the second time. He got to marry his childhood sweetheart after both of them had been divorced before. Yeah. Neither of them had any kids of their own. That just wasn't really in their picture for their lives.
Yeah,
so
as long as they're happy.
Right. And then in 1967, we had the first McDonald's open in Canada and Puerto Rico. Big year.
Oh.
And then in 1968, Fred became president of McDonald's, just like Ray promised.
Right.
And then June of that year, June, not June of that year, the girl June, you know, the secretary.
Yep.
Yep. She retired as secretary and kept her McDonald's stock and became an honorary director. That woman ended up rich as fuck.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. Roy was now chairman of the board, and he had to come up with new ways of developing the restaurant. So now he didn't have the presidency stuff, but he really was just in charge of everything, basically. He got to kind of sit back and kind of watch everything happen. And he was invited to speak at a convention one day in San Diego. As he was looking at the guest list, he noticed a name that stood out to him. Joan Smith. She's back. So Ray went to a fancy dinner and was so excited to see her, and they ended up sitting next to each other and talking the entire time. And after dinner, Ray invited people to his hotel suite, and the people who ended up staying the longest was Joan and Ray's driver, Carl. Carl's like, I'm just making sure there's no scandals happening here. So he's just chilling with them. I bet Ray was like, go home, Carl. But yeah. So after that, Joan was like, I'm ready to marry you. Like that was it. That's all I needed. I needed another sign that we should be together. And so she was like, I'm going to divorce my husband, like for real this time.
Quote unquote.
I know. I'd be like, do it first because I don't believe you. So, but then Joan was also like, your wife is super nice. And I feel really bad that you're going to divorce her because she's like so sweet. And so he's like, I know. I'll let her down easy though. Don't worry. And his way of doing that was giving her the house in Beverly Hills.
Oh my God.
She's probably like, okay. So he got another divorce.
Ugh.
Yeah. And then in 1968, McDonald's opened its 1,000th restaurant in Illinois.
Damn.
Yeah. The logo then changed into the diagonal line getting taken out. So like what I was talking about, so stupid. Yeah. And now it's more like 2 arches, so it's more like an M like we see today.
Oh, so. Is it like the M is it like an arrow?
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
That's so stupid.
I remember that. Yeah.
It's so weird looking. I don't know who decided that, but okay.
I don't know.
After 1968, Ray was on the search for a good dessert menu item. He's like, we have a good meal going here, but like we need dessert items. And so the only thing they really had was milkshakes. So he tried out a strawberry shortcake. He tried to find like small versions of that. He tried out a pound cake. Neither of them would have worked well in the restaurant. So one franchisee came up to him and he was like, I have an idea. What if we sell apple pies? But like keep them more in like a small form. And we can make them fast.
Do they still have those?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's something that they've never gotten rid of.
Oh.
But like, nobody thinks about go getting an apple pie.
No.
They used to do like, didn't they used to do like free apple pies if they didn't ask you if you wanted one? It was something like that.
I have no idea.
I don't know. Okay. So it became a menu item for the whole U.S. By the 70s. So, yeah. And then on March 8th, 1969, Ray Kroc and Joan Smith finally got married.
Shocker.
I know. She finally divorced him. He probably wasn't surprised.
Literally.
He's probably like, yeah, I know you guys like each other. It's very obvious.
Have you seen our phone bill? Plus, the operator on the other end has been telling me all about it.
Exactly. You can't be very secretive. In June 1969, McDonald's look changed from the stainless steel look to more of like the brick look that we see today in a lot of locations. Mm-hmm. So they got rid of that idea of like keeping it looking like a diner kind of into more of just like a classic looking restaurant. So they also added more of that like rectangle shape just so that they could have more seating in the restaurant. And so a lot of locations still look like that. But a lot of fast food chains were trying to compete against McDonald's because of course they're so successful. But Ray is very passionate about how McDonald's had 100% real beef and customers got their food in less than 5 minutes. And he actually made a little thing where it was like, if you don't get your food after 5 minutes of ordering, you get your money back. Yeah. I would be really slow ordering.
Yeah.
I'd be like, wait, can you make this instead? Just to mess with them. And then in 1970, the Shamrock Shake was introduced for St. Patrick's Day in the United States, Canada, and Ireland.
I always say I'm going to get it, and I never do.
I have never tried it. I like mint, but I don't know about that. It stresses me out.
Oh, I love... the grasshopper from Dutch
so
Bros.
Good.
Yeah.
So good. So, this is a shake that's only sold in the month of March. Do they still do it? I think they do.
I think so.
Yeah. And it's basically a mint flavored shake that is green. Mm-hmm. So, there are 2 different stories on how it was created. And it's like pretty impossible to tell which one's true. And it's not that big of a deal. But basically, the first story was that McDonald's franchisee wanted a product to sell during St. Patrick's Day and came up with the Shamrock Shake in 1966 that would basically just be a mint shake. Story 2 is that Rogers Merchandising from Chicago were the creators. They were a client, and they were known to work heavily with McDonald's, but they mixed lemon lime sherbet with vanilla ice cream to make it green, and then added the mint flavor later. And then they ended up taking out the lemon lime 3 years later. Anyway, so it could have been from either of those.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing we do know is that it wasn't advertised until 1979. And then in 1980, this was the only year that they had a Shamrock Sundae. It did not do well, so they never made one again.
Huh.
I don't think that sounds good, like mint and a sundae. That's a little weird. But who knows? And then, so yeah, that's the Shamrock Shake. I have to talk about like the big items. Yeah. So 1970, McDonald Land was created, and this was a whole world of McDonald's, and people were really excited. There was a live action show, including the Hamburglar, the mascot, just kidding. Mm-hmm. And they were always out ready to get some food from McDonald's and stealing the food, teaching kids how to steal. It's great. In 1971, we had the first Australian location, and they call it Macca's. thought that was fun.
That's right.
Yeah. And then 1971 was the first Japan location and the first European location. I went to McDonald's in Italy.
How different was it?
It was like they sold other food.
Yeah.
But like, I'm pretty sure it was either cheaper or more expensive. I can't remember.
I don't know. I need to ask James because he went to one in Germany not too long ago and it looked different.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I need to ask him if it was cheaper or whatnot. He probably wouldn't even know, to be honest.
Yeah. I feel like it was cheaper, but they just had like weird, it was like not the same menu at all. Like it was very different.
I think all different like countries have a different menu.
Yeah.
Or slightly different menu.
Right. But let us know if you've gotten any cool locations or if you live anywhere outside of the U.S. Every single state at this point had at least one McDonald's. So definitely big. And then the big meal was introduced at this time, which was the first value meal. So this was like the idea of like making everything a meal rather than buying like a drink, fries. Now you could just buy the whole meal. So this included a Big Mac, fries, and a soft drink. And McDonald's came out with the slogan, "You deserve a break today." That was like their slogan for a while before I'm Loving It came out.
Oh my God. I completely didn't think of what the...
Of I'm Loving It?
Yeah.
I didn't either, actually. And then when I was researching, I was like, oh, yeah. I'm loving it. I feel like I was more into McDonald's like as a kid.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, ugh. Unless I'm drunk. And I'm like, fries! So, okay, so then we have good old Al Bernardin. I don't want to say his last name. He was the guy who brought in frozen French fries. He's that guy. Yeah. And he decided there should be a burger on the menu with more meat. So he came up with a quarter pounder. He's like, let's jack it up.
That's a lot of meat.
By 1972, it was on every menu in the U.S. And the first original location, which turned into the Big M, got torn down.
Oh,
I know. So much history. Mac McDonald passed away from a heart attack in 1971 at the age of 69.
damn.
Yeah. And then in 1972, McDonald's was making $1 billion of sales yearly.
Shit.
America at this point was very fast-paced, and so they kept just adding new things to the menu, kind of experimenting with different things. Herb Peterson was a franchise operator and asked Ray Kroc to look into this new sandwich called the Egg McMuffin. It basically had Canadian bacon, egg, and American cheese on a toasted and buttered English muffin. That's way fancier than it is now. Mm-hmm. They don't butter that shit. And Ray decided it was time for them to introduce breakfast, since they already had coffee on the menu for years.
Yeah.
I don't know how they didn't think of this before, but they're like, let's add breakfast now. So it was introduced in 1972, just the English muffin. Egg, what is it called? McMuffin. Yeah. In October of 1974, we had the first Swedish restaurant, and they'll come up later. Sweden will come up later, but
Meatballs.
Kroc brought the San Diego Padres team as well, because he was just like, might as well buy a baseball team.
What?
And I don't know if this was like his dad moment, but he got very into it, including like trying to coach the team, because his dad was a baseball player, you know?
Oh my God.
Or a coach. So he was like very into it.
You own the team doesn't mean you're the coach for it.
Yeah, he got a little too involved. Like, he would oversee the cooking there. He would oversee, like, the ticket sales.
Oh, God.
And then he gave everyone raises. He's like, why not? Here you go. And then he once, during the game, apologized to the crowd for how bad the team was. What? Yeah. Okay, so then we have Yolanda Cofino. She's the owner of a McDonald's in Guatemala. She created a menu, Ronald. That's what it was called. It was called the Ronald menu. And it was basically a kid's menu. Mm-hmm. And all the food items had different names that would be more exciting rather than just eating whatever their parents ate. So it just made kids more excited.
Yeah.
And basically on the menu, we had a hamburger, small fries, and a small sundae. It helped moms be able to order quicker for their kids. So it was a pretty good invention in that way, because moms could do things faster. Or dads. They came up with the idea that if parents were able to order some things for their kids quicker and the kids were more excited about it, that everyone would be happier. So it ended up being called the Happy Meal. Yeah. And they were packaged in a cardboard box with a handle on the top and a lot of comic strips and games on the box. I think they still do that. I don't know for sure.
I don't know.
Some locations use the cardboard, I think. Others, you just put it in a bag.
I don't have kids, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. I used to think getting a Happy Meal was like luxury.
Literally.
Like it was like the best thing you could get.
Sometimes my dad, after he would pick us up from your mom's house, your parents' house from daycare, we would go to that McDonald's that's right there. And oh my God, we would flip our shit. We're like, oh my God.
I'm eating good tonight. That's awesome. So then as they were kind of creating the Happy Meal, they changed it to where you would get a hamburger, small fries, a small drink, a packet of cookies, and a surprise gift. That was an idea by Bob Bernstein. So that was the Happy Meal. And then in 1974, we had the first Ronald McDonald House that opened in Pennsylvania, which was a place that provided families of sick children in hospitals to stay in kind of like a guest bedroom for free of charge. And then they would take donations, but they weren't required to like pay for anything. And then Wendy's came out with the modern drive-thru window in 1971. And they were like the first to do it, which is interesting. Huh. And so McDonald's copied them and started doing the drive-thru in 1975. Yeah. I'm going to go through these pretty quick. We're kind of just going through the years. 1976, we had 4,000 locations now. In 1977, the senior chairman... Ray was a senior chairman in 1977, and he ended up selling a book that year called Grinding It Out. Yeah. And then in 1977, McDonald's introduced their full breakfast menu, including hotcakes, English muffins, scrambled eggs, sausage, hash browns, danishes, and egg McMuffin.
Those hash browns, though.
Oh, those hash browns slap.
Good hangover food.
Oh, yeah. And I also really like their coffee. They have good iced coffee. If you get it with like no cream, it's delicious. Not a coffee person.
No, I like coffee.
I know you do. Why'd you say, oh?
Oh, I just McDonald's coffee. I don't know.
Oh, you don't like it?
I just, places like that, they just make them so sweet.
Yeah. No, but that's what I'm saying. If you get it without like cream, like I just get like the vanilla flavor. It's not sweet at all. It's really good.
Yeah. So
try it next time. Okay. You like how offended I got? You don't like coffee? Okay. I know you like coffee, but in 1978, we had our 5,000th location that opened in Japan.
Damn.
Yeah. By 1979, the Happy Meal was everywhere, and the first toys included erasers and like fake watches. Yeah. Fun. Yeah. I'm sure you can get their like original prizes for like thousands of dollars now. It's probably something stupid like that.
If you have them still in the packaging, it's probably worth a lot.
It's like Beanie Babies.
Yeah.
When they were selling those. Okay. By 1980, we had the 6,000th location. So just in 2 years, we had 1,000 locations open.
Jeez.
Yeah, and that was the first one, or not the first one, but the 6,000th was in Germany. America got to a point where they were wanting to eat something more healthy, so McDonald's came up with the idea of the McChicken. It's not very healthy, but okay. All they did was substitute the hamburger for the chicken, which I guess works, but like
if you
it's
get
still
the
in mayonnaise.
Grilled one.
Yeah. It sold poorly and was discontinued.
Huh.
So in 1981, since the sandwich failed, they were like, let's try nuggets. And so the McNuggets were introduced. The first recipe was created by René Arend. He was like their fancy chef.
Uh-oh.
And they created like a boneless chicken meat, fried in batter, and flash froze it to get the taste. Yeah. And in 1981, everyone loved the nuggets, but their current system wasn't working out because they didn't have enough chicken to give to all the stores. So they're like, they only had McNuggets at some places. Mm-hmm. But then in 1983, they finally got the McNuggets everywhere. And that was exciting. And then they actually have 4 different shapes of McNuggets. I had no idea. But they have a bell, a bow tie, a ball, and a boot. So go look at pictures of that if you're interested.
What?
But yeah. They do it on purpose, like just to be able to like see all of the nuggets at once, and then like dipping purposes. I don't know. That's what they said. The same guy who invented the McNugget also came up with the McRib. Yeah. And this was a rib-shaped pork patty with barbecue sauce, onions, pickles, and served on a roll. I've never had one. It sounds just not good. I'm not a rib person, but...
People lose their shit
when it
comes out.
People are obsessed with it. It's like the Mexican pizza at Taco Bell. People are obsessed with that, too.
What the hell is that?
Mexican pizza. Never heard of it?
No.
Oh, okay. It's not good either. So the McRib did really well, and it went national after just being in the U.S., but was removed from the menu in 1985. It's a huge item in Germany. Germany sells McRibs all year long. It's very permanent there. Whereas here it goes off and on. It will come usually like in the fall time, and then it disappears, and then it will come back. So you never know when it's going to be there.
It makes it more demanding.
Yeah. In 1984, Ray Kroc passed away from heart failure at the age of 81. Towards the end of his life, he was confined in a wheelchair, and that did not stop him from working hard for the company. He still worked every day. And Joan went on to donate a lot of his fortune to different charities. He was worth $500 million when he died. But of course, McDonald's continued to grow after he died, so his fortune just kept on growing, and that was now given to Joan. So she was like, I'm not going to keep all this money for myself, so she just continued to donate to different charities, and in her will, she had $1.6 million going to the Salvation Army, and then $225 million to the National Public Radio. Yeah, that's a lot of money.
To radio?
Yeah, she wanted to fail, I guess.
Huh.
In November of 1984, Dick McDonald was served the 500th billionth McDonald's hamburger because he was the first ever chef to make one.
Huh.
Yeah. And by 1986, there were 100 Ronald McDonald houses open. In 1987, we had the first McDonald's Monopoly game that was ran. I don't know if they still do that, but I know they did like Monopoly for a while.
They did it at Safeway. I know that.
Yeah, it's kind of become big in a lot of places. 1993, we had the first Middle East location in Israel, and in Australia, the McCafe was debuted in 1993 because they wanted to have more people come by. So they had like big stores there. So what they did is they had the McCafe kind of in the front of the store so that you'd want to get a coffee on your way to ordering lunch. It's like interesting. So you had to like order them from separate places.
Interesting.
But Australia is who started the McCafe.
Huh.
Yeah. And then we had the hot coffee case. Did you ever hear about that? The woman who sued him, McDonald's.
What?
So we had Stella Liebeck who ordered a coffee from McDonald's and spilled it in her lap. And then she tried suing because it was too hot. It gave her 3rd-degree burns, and she had to undergo skin grafting, which would keep her in the hospital for 8 days. Yeah. So she tried to sue McDonald's, and her lawyer claimed that McDonald's coffee was way too hot because it was served between 180 and 190 degrees Fahrenheit. And then other places didn't serve coffee this hot. But the National Coffee Association was like, the temperature of McDonald's coffee was fine by our standards. So they're fine. And other places actually had higher temperatures like Starbucks and Burger King. So Stella was awarded with $64,000 by court order, even though she was trying to originally seek $160,000. They're like, we're not giving you that much.
Yeah, no.
$60,000 will pay your medical bills, okay?
Literally.
You'll be fine. So, and I mean, back in the 90s, it's pretty good.
She got money for spilling coffee on herself?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That's your own fucking fault.
I know.
That point.
So that's why they have like caution hot on their coffee cups.
This is why I can't stand people.
Right? Okay, so in 1996, the Arch Deluxe sandwich was created, which, yeah, there's probably a reason why you never heard of it, because it didn't do well. But basically, they wanted like a burger that would be for grown-ups, because they were focusing so much on kids, and they're like, we want something that would be for like the grown-ups to come by and eat something fun. So they just stuffed a bunch of stuff in a sandwich. They had like a 1/4 pound of beef with a big strip of bacon, and on a bigger bun, And they had leaf lettuce, tomato and cheese, onion, ketchup, and a secret sauce. Jamie's face right now. She's so confused. No comment?
It's called a burger. God. How is that for adults? Like, anyone can fucking eat that.
Is he put it on a bigger bun? I don't know. Okay. But when this came out, people were like, oh, there's so many calories. We're going to die. And they all started freaking out about the calories. And then they freaked out because the price was like over $2. And they're like, oh no. In the 90s, that was a pretty big deal. And so they're like, I'm not paying $2 for a sandwich. And McDonald's spent over $300 million on that sandwich for it to flop. Nobody liked it. And they were discontinued in 2000. So I guess they lasted for like 4 years, but yeah.
Yeesh.
1997, the year of us,
Oh.
was also the year of the McFlurry.
Oh.
Yeah, which is just a vanilla soft serve mixed with different toppings like Oreos and M&Ms. I don't know if they've ever had another flavor. I know it's just been those two.
This does not exist. Because it never works.
Oh, because it never works, yeah. Never works. But what's cool about the spoon is that, do they still have it with those spoons? I don't know. The spoon is also part of the blender. So like you like use it, you put it on the machine and it blends it. And so that's why it kind of looks like it has like the rectangle part. What?
I thought it was a straw.
Me too. I wasn't going to say anything, but I did too. I always tried to suck it up. It never worked. We know all of you did that too. Don't lie. Yeah, I learned that in this research that it was part of the blending.
No.
I know, it's shocking. So the McFlurry was a sensation on 1998. That's what I just said. 1998 was when Dick McDonald passed away and left behind $1.8 million of estate. And he didn't have hard feelings with Ray. There was never anything that was mentioned. Whenever they'd ask him about Ray, he would just say like they're friends and he's happy for his success. Like, it didn't seem like they really had a lot of tension. They were just friends. And I think especially at that point, obviously Ray's dead, but at that point, but like he had nothing but good things to say about him. So he's just a good person, I think. Dick and Mac, they were such good guys. Dick, just kidding. I'm over that. In 2002, the stocks went down and McDonald's lost $344 million. Because they were losing so many cells, they knew they had to experiment with some new things. So in October 2000, the 3-in-1 came out in Nebraska. The 3-in-1 basically was like a McDonald's, but it also had a sandwich section. So it's kind of like a food court. You can go to the sandwich area, get like a little sandwich and some soup. Or you could go to the bakery and ice cream. Or you could just go to McDonald's. It was like all in the McDonald's building.
Oh.
And yeah. It didn't do well because everyone just kept ordering McDonald's and not the other things. So this idea was a flop as well. And then McDonald's then introduced healthier options like salads and McGriddles and chicken selects. Chicken selects sounds so familiar. Was that just the chicken tenders?
I have no idea.
Okay. It sounds so familiar. I don't know. And then the new slogan was formed. I'm loving it. The movie Super Size Me came out. Remember where that guy was eating all the McDonald's and checking his heart conditions and it wasn't going well.
Yep.
So McDonald's ended up dropping all their supersize options from their menu and trying to focus on healthier options. Now they don't even have a salad. So that went well. In 2005, Ronald McDonald got a new revamped look. I looked at it and I was like, are you sure? Because it kind of looks the same. They like barely revamped him. And then also in 2005, Singapore was the first place to have a McDonald's delivery service. In 2006, McDonald's announced that they would now provide nutrition information on all of their packaging, and they would push for healthier options. They gave the McDonald's a new look called Forever Young in 2006 to a lot of buildings, which is basically like that classic brown look that looks more modern.
I hate it.
Yeah.
It looks like a prison.
It does. So it kind of looks like Starbucks.
They
the
all
same
look
vibe.
the same.
Yeah.
The only difference is the logo
Yeah.
that is outside
It's
it.
sad. It's like, be creative. Come on.
No one gets it.
I mean, In-N-Out does a decent job at that, sort
Yeah.
of. But, like, they just never change their brand, I feel like. So,
No, but it works.
yeah. All right, almost done here. In 2007, McDonald's released a 42-ounce size drink called the Hugo size.
Ew.
Yeah. In 2009, McDonald's came out with 3 new Angus burgers called the Deluxe, the Bacon and Cheese, and the Mushroom and Swiss. I don't know what happened to those, but I guess they didn't do well.
I remember the Angus one.
Yeah. I remember that was like a hype thing.
Yeah.
In 2010, they came out with their fruit and maple oatmeal. I don't know. I just like seeing Jamie's reactions to all these things. In 2012, they started posting calories on the menu in their drive-thrus. In 2015, all-day breakfast came back. Bow, 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 bow. And then the Founder film came out in 2017. If you'd like to watch it, it's all about Ray Kroc and the McDonald brothers, and it is on Netflix. So, you're welcome. And then in 2019... I told you Sweden was coming back. They're here. So we had the McHive. And basically what it is, it's the world's smallest McDonald's, and it's full of bees. So it's like a beehive.
What?
They basically did it so that they would give attention to save the bees.
Oh.
Yeah. And so it's like a huge project in Sweden. I really love Sweden. They care about a lot of things. I like them. So many Sweden restaurants had like especially in the McDonald's restaurants, they had beehives on the roofs, and then they had like flowers just for the bees. So they really care about them. So they thought this would be a fun way to kind of like represent that. And somebody ended up buying it for $10,000 and then giving the proceeds to the Ronald McDonald House. And that is where I stopped. I know that's a very random point, but I mean, that's 2019. And then of course COVID happened. They got rid of a bunch of menu items, and then now they just exist.
The
And
buttermilk chicken tenders.
yeah, those are gone. Rip. So I like the spicy McChicken, but they do not have that in every state.
Really?
Yeah, because they didn't have it in Nebraska. I was crushed.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, that's history of McDonald's.
It's
A lot.
a lot.
Researching was a lot.
Some weird menu items.
Yeah. It's just interesting to kind of see like how a company goes from nothing to this.
I mean, there's so much trial and error to get to the point where you stand.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway,
They're busy all the time.
yeah, it's crazy. So in some ways, I see how Ray was great at what he did, but it also sucks a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Especially because it's not like the brothers are getting any of the money.
No.
You know, like there's nothing really to their name. It kind of sucks, but yeah. Anyway, that's History of McDonald's. Thank you for listening.
We got a good one next week.
Yeah.
Kylie doesn't know.
Nope. It should be interesting though.
Yep. So where can you find us?
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Historia the Podcast. You can email us at historiathepodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what your McDonald's is like near you.
I'm actually very curious to know what like the different recipes are,
Yeah.
or the different stuff that
Like
they have.
menus. That would be interesting to know. Let us know.
Make sure to let us know, review us, give us stars.
5 stars, or 4. Just 5.
I don't know how it works.
Me neither. I don't even know how to see our reviews if we have any. I have no idea. All right.
All right.
Thank you for listening. Bye.